What's up guys, CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new Dark Tower video. Over the past week, and looking at a lot of the chatter about the movie on the web, the one thing I seem to find a lot more than I expected is speculation about whether or not the Dark Tower movie and the new adaptation of Stephen King's It would be connected. On the face of it, especially to people unfamiliar with the Dark Tower series, this might seem kind of odd and definitely unnecessary, but within the book and the universe of the book itself, there is a lot of crossover, which makes it a possibility within the movies. The crux of this theory, or maybe of these thoughts in general, comes from two different places from what I can see. First, that they do cross over a lot within the Dark Tower series itself, and then secondly, that both of them are coming out right around the same time. In the Dark Tower books themselves, there are several connections to Stephen King's It, from things that settle as characters in the series having similar powers to Pennywise, and other more overt connections between Stephen King's two works. Probably the most overt of overt connections between the two series is that the town of Derry, Maine does exist in the Dark Tower universe, and it is actually mentioned several times. For example, Patrick Danville, a key character in Insomnia, another Stephen King book which is set in Derry, he also appears as a key character in the Dark Tower itself, the 7th book of the series. Building off of that briefly, in that book, Danville is held captive by Dandello, a creature seen in the Dark Tower that bears a striking resemblance to it in terms of abilities. Now, Dandello feeds on the emotions of those around him and can appear to alter reality around him, much like it does several times in the novel. This has actually led to a lot of fan speculation as to whether or not Dandello was actually it itself, though Stephen King actually has personally addressed that, saying they aren't, though they might be the same species of monster. Another huge connection between the two comes in the form of its deadlights. Brought about if any of the Losers Club stared into the eyes of Pennywise spider form too long, the deadlights caused paralysis, suffering, and most often death to the beholder. But where did we see the deadlights again? That's right, the Dark Tower's ultimate big bad, the Crimson King. And the King shares multiple similarities with Pennywise too. Beyond the deadlights, they both shapeshift, with the Crimson King actually known as the Lord of Spiders. Another Easter egg-like connection to Derry, while the Crimson King was mentioned in the first few volumes of the Dark Tower series, he wasn't actually a key player, or an active player I guess you could say, until book 5. And actually, his first major appearance in a Stephen King book was in the town of Derry, Maine in Insomnia. There's a lot of speculation about him actually being it too, much like Dandello, but there's also a huge amount of doubt cast on that theory. It's up for debate, of course, but I think it's safe to assume what King said about Dandello and it remains the same. There may be at most members of the same species, although even that isn't necessarily supported by the text. So, could it happen? Yes, absolutely, but is this the launch of the grand Stephen King cinematic universe? I doubt it, but I do hope so. In fact, I think it would probably be best handled in the movies, much like it is in the books, with a ton of Easter eggs. I mean, outside of a few instances, this is mostly how King connects his books anyways, like the portrait of Pennywise in the Gunslinger's hideout in Fall of Gilead, or Salem's Lot's Father Callahan also appearing in the back half of the Dark Tower series. I want to hear from you guys though. Do you think It and Dark Tower will connect, or even potentially kick off the Stephen King cinematic universe? But that's going to do it for me here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, and subscribe for more great content every single day. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.